Everyone and welcome. Today's video, I'm not going to be wasting your time. We are simply looking at portfolio theory. All right. So the concept of portfolio is simple. We are simply just looking at one thing, diversification, and the second one is balancing your portfolio, ensuring that you are investing in the class of assets that have the least risk and also the highest return. All right. So if you talk of portfolio, you look at diversification. Diversification is simply just spreading your investment across different assets. And the essence of that is that when there's a shock or there's a lower return in one asset, you'll be able to compensate for that in another kind of asset. And the second part is balancing. Balancing is simply just looking at how do I ensure that I'm combining all these assets in such a way that they are giving me the highest return. And in today's video, we'll be looking at how to calculate return on portfolio for single asset portfolio and also for a double asset portfolio. The concept is simple. Every time you hear portfolio return, all you're looking at is just two things. Number one is capital appreciation. Capital appreciation is simply looking at the difference between how much the value of my investment is at the beginning and how much the value of my investment is at the end, and then plus whatever dividend has been paid to me or whatever return I've gotten over the holding period. And that gives me the expected or the total return that I'm going to be getting, and that's what gives us the return on portfolio. So what we are saying here is that our return on portfolio equals to the value of asset at closing minus value of asset at beginning, right? Then plus whatever dividend that you have received over the period. Let's say, let's just call this dividend, then divided by value of assets at opening. Now, this is what gives me the return on my portfolio. All we have simply said is that I want to look at my capital appreciation. What I have here between this and this is what you call capital appreciation. Meaning I'm looking at the difference between the value of my investment at the beginning of the period and also the value of the investment at the closing of the period, and then add whatever return that you have gotten over the holding period, then divide by the value of the opening asset, and that gives you the portfolio return. For a single asset portfolio, we said already that our portfolio return on portfolio equals to, the first is the opening. Let's say our opening asset minus closing asset divided by opening asset, more like the way you do your trend analysis. Then this is plus D. I already explained this. D is simply the return that you're getting for the main period, and this is how you get for a single asset portfolio. This is how you get the return. All right. So if you're looking at two asset portfolio, all right, for the total return on portfolio when the assets are two, that means you have different investments in different assets, right? So what will that be? We'll have first is the return on asset A multiplied by the weight on asset A. I will explain this shortly. Plus the return on asset B multiplied by the weight of asset B. Very simple. So where you have two assets, we are saying that it's not just about this return that we have here. We're saying that in addition to that, we need to weight this asset accordingly, according to their proportion in the entire portfolio. So the weight we are referring to here is if I have asset A and asset B. If asset A, the total I'm investing in asset A is, let's say, 200,000, and I'm investing 800,000 in asset B, the total value of this portfolio is 1 million. 1 million. So what that simply means is that for asset A, I'll be having the weight of asset A to the total portfolio size is 200,000 divided by 1 million. For asset B, it will be 800,000 divided by 1 million. So simply, this will be 20%, and this guy will be 80%. And this is what we are referring to when we talk about the weight of the asset. All you're just looking at is look at the entire fund in that portfolio and then put weightings across how many assets. If you have 3 assets, simple, same thing. Just do A, B, and C, then the value for each of them divided by the total portfolio size, and that gives you the weight for each of the assets, right? If you come to the return, you're looking at the return individually as if though you are calculating the return for a single asset portfolio. All right, so we look at a very basic illustration for asset portfolio, how to calculate the expected return, and also how to calculate the weight that should be when you have a target return on your portfolio. So let's look at this illustration. All right, so the question will display on your screen shortly. Please screenshot it so you can follow through in the question. Okay, so look at the question. We have 2 assets here, or 2 investments here. You have stock A and you have stock B. You have the current price. Look at the current price here. For stock A is 40, stock B is 50. Expected price, meaning what I'm expecting stock A to close with is 48. What I'm expecting stock B to close with is 63. And then dividend, expected dividend throughout this holding period, meaning from when I'm starting this investment to when I'm closing, how much return have they given to me? And this is how much. For stock A is 0 and for stock B is 2. Now the first thing is, the question is asking us to compute the expected return on the portfolio. All right, so we're saying if you're looking at the expected return on any portfolio, it's simply 2 things you're looking at. The first is the capital appreciation, and the second is simply whatever return you're getting throughout that holding period. Now, it means we have to calculate the expected return, right? Return on portfolio, or return for each of these individual assets, right? So return on A, return on A, on asset A, we said is closing asset minus opening asset. Anyhow you want to put it, you can decide to bring opening first, it doesn't matter, divided by opening asset, then this plus whatever dividend that you have. All right, so for asset A, right, return on A will be closing asset is 48. 48 minus opening 40. This is the capital appreciation. Plus, in addition to this, you have dividend of 0. And then divide by opening is current, which is 40. 40. So if I multiply this by 100% or 100, this should give me the expected return for asset A. So this is 8 divided by 40, and that should be 0.2, and that's 20%. So return for asset B equals to 53 minus 50, right? Plus the dividend here, that's the return for the period, then divided by opening is 50. So if I multiply this by 100, I should get 30%. 30%. Now I have the return for asset A and I have the return for asset B. The next thing I need to get is what I call my portfolio weight. Okay, so from the question, we're told that asset A investment portfolio or investment will be having 750,000 and asset B will be having a total of 250. So the weight here is that weight of A should be 750,000 divided by 1 million. And that should give us 75% of the entire portfolio. If this is 75, automatically weight of B should be 250,000 divided by 1 million, and that should automatically give us 25%. And the total of this should be 100%. All right, so now we have our weight and we also have our expected return or return for each of these assets. All right, so where you have 2 assets, we said already that when you have 2 assets, portfolio return on portfolio, right, which is, we are referring to total return now, equals to return of A multiplied by weight of A plus return of B multiplied by the weight of B. That's all we're doing. And you don't have to think twice. Our total return here becomes, return on A is 20%. 20% multiplied by weight of A is 75%. Plus return on B is 30%. Multiplied by weight of B is 25%. And then if you compute this, that should be 22.5%. Now the combined return on these two portfolios is 22.5, and that answers the A part, the expected return on the portfolio. And because the portfolio has two assets in it, you need to weight it. And weighting it means that you need to calculate the individual return first, looking at the capital appreciation and also the return over the holding period, and also calculating the weight. And the weight is just simply looking at the entire portfolio size and then getting the values of the assets, as a proportion of the entire portfolio. And that gives you the weight. And then when you bring them together, it gives you what we call the entire portfolio return. So the big part of the question, how do you invest if you had to achieve a portfolio return of 28? So this 28, we are simply referring to the total portfolio. And we said already that the total portfolio return equals to return of A multiplied by weight of A plus return of B multiplied by the weight of B. All right. So now it's like we're going to be doing a walk back. All right. So portfolio return. So 28% is what is given to us. It means the entire thing we have here is that 28%. All right. And remember that this weight of A is 75% and weight of B was 25%. All right. We took it off from the board already. All right. And so what do we have here? Return of A. We calculated their individual return, 20% and 30%. Now, what the question is asking now is how we are going to be redistributing this 75 and 25%. And that's what the question is asking. So we already have their return. This return is not changing, but this weight is going to be changing. All right. And now let's look at, if they have 28% as target, this equals to 28%, right? So let me just put 0.28. 0.28 equals to, now, return of A is 20%. 0.2 multiplied by weight of A plus return of B is 0.3 multiplied by the weight of B. All right. So since I have two unknown, I have weight of A, weight of B. And I know very well that weight of A plus weight of B must equals to 100%, right? So it means that my weight of B will simply be 1 minus my weight of A. So instead of having a weight of B, I will just represent it with 1 minus weight of A. And so I would have 0.28 equals to 0.2 multiplied by my weight of A plus 0.3 multiplied by, instead of having the weight of B, I will represent with 1 minus weight of A. 1 minus weight of A. All right, so I can open this bracket. This is the same thing as 0.28 equals to 0.2 weight of A plus, if I open this bracket, this will be 0.3 minus 0.3 weight of A. All right, so I can collect the like times. So this is 0.28. I'll bring this here, minus 0.3 equals to weight of A. All right. So that means our weight of A, divide us both sides by 0.1. And so weight of A should be minus 0.02 divided by minus 0.1, right? So and that should be 0.2, and that should be 20%. All right, weight of A is 20%, so it means automatically that weight of B will be 80%. So since the entire fund is 1 million, so it means that A, I should redistribute this asset in such that A should be having 200,000 investment and B should be having 800,000 investment, and this total is 1 million, which is the fund in that portfolio. And by so doing, it will give me a total return of 28%, and that ends it. So it means you can actually have more than 2, 3, 4, right? All you just need to do is bring as many that you have into this formula, and then you are able to do a work back to get your expected redistribution or expected return of the portfolio. Thank you for watching. See you again in the next video. Bye bye.